What Happens When We Sleep by Cedric and Miriam.
For many CEGEP students, sleep is often perceived as optional rather than essential, frequently sacrificed for academic work, social activities, or part-time jobs. However, this perception overlooks the critical biological process that occurs during sleep. Sleep is a regulated physiological state characterized by change in brain activity and body function, during which the body restores tissues, consolidates memory, and removes waste from the brain.
Despite its importance, many young adults fail to meet the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. This is partly due to increased independence from parental schedules, as well as competing priorities such as studying, employment, and screen use. As a result, chronic sleep deprivation has become common among CEGEP students, raising important questions about how sleep actually works.
It is important to understand that when you sleep, your brain does not simply shut off. Although the body is at rest, the brain remains highly active and cycles through two main phases: non-rapid eye movement, or also called NREM sleep, and rapid eye movement, also called REM sleep. NREM sleep is divided into three stages, while REM sleep consists of a single stage. Together, these stages form a complete cycle, which repeats multiple times throughout the nights, depending on the total duration of sleep. Before getting more into depth for each stage and its characteristics, let's first look at the key brain structures involved in sleep.
Within the hypothalamus, there is a cluster of cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, also called as SCN, that regulates the sleep cycles. The SCN plays a key role in controlling the circadian rhythm, which is the body's internal biological clock that determines whether we feel awake or sleepy. It is also involved in coordinating sleep timing with sleep-wake homeostasis, which regulates the body's need for sleep based on how long a person has been awake. The SCN receives information about light from the retina, allowing it to distinguish between day and night and adjust the sleep cycle accordingly.
Once light levels decrease, the SCN signals the pineal gland, a small structure near the center of the brain, to secrete melatonin. Melatonin promotes sleep by signaling to the body that it is nighttime. The basal forebrain, located at the base of the brain, also plays a role in regulating sleep and wakefulness.
Another important structure in sleep is the brainstem, which includes the pons, medulla, and midbrain. The brainstem contains neurons that release GABA, which helps promote sleep by inhibiting brain activity. On the other hand, the thalamus relays sensory signals to the cerebral cortex where they are processed. Finally, the amygdala is responsible for processing emotions.
By understanding these different brain structures, we can link their functions to their involvement in sleep cycles and mechanisms. The following information up to the section on sleep disorders is based on a combination of sources, including work by Brickman, Reddy, and Sharma, who are all doctors, as well as resources from the Cleveland Clinic and the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. Let's start with NREM Stage 1. This stage represents the transition from wakefulness to sleep and accounts for about 5% of total sleep time. During this phase, physiological activity begins to slow. Heart rate, breathing, and eye movements decrease, and muscles start to relax. Brain activity shifts from wakeful patterns to slower theta waves. Because this stage is very light, individuals can be easily awakened and may not even realize they have fallen asleep.
We are now going to move on to NREM Stage 2. Stage 2 makes up to the largest portion of sleep, approximately 45% of the total duration. Similar to Stage 1, body functions continue to slow down and muscle relaxation increases. However, this stage is characterized by more distinct brain activity patterns, including sleep spindles and K complexes. Sleep spindles are bursts of electrical activity that are of low voltage but high frequency. On the other hand, K complexes are bursts of electrical activity that are high voltage but slow in frequency. These features are believed to play an important role in memory processing and the brain's ability to filter external stimuli, helping maintain sleep.
Finally, let us get into NREM Stage 3. It is the deepest stage of sleep and accounts for about 25% of total sleep time, particularly early in the night. It is dominated by very slow delta waves and is critical for physical restoration. During this stage, the body carries out essential processes such as tissue repair, muscle growth, and strengthening of the immune system. This stage is crucial for feeling physically rested. During NREM sleep, communication between the brainstem, thalamus, and cerebral cortex is reduced due to the release of GABA, which slows down brain activity. The thalamus becomes less active in these stages to allow you to disconnect from the outside world.
We will now get into the REM sleep cycle of the night. REM sleep also makes up about 25% of total sleep time and is the stage most commonly associated with dreaming. During REM sleep, brain activity increases and becomes similar to wakefulness, while heart rate and breathing becomes more irregular. Despite this increased brain activity, the brainstem inhibits muscle activity or sleep paralysis to prevent acting out dreams. Since REM sleep is the stage where dreams occur, the thalamus is highly active, unlike in NREM sleep, because it sends internally generated brain signals to the cerebral cortex, which are interpreted as dream images and sounds. Dream can be scary, sad, or happy because the amygdala is active during this stage and contributes to the emotion content of the dreams.
Throughout the night, sleep cycles alternate between NREM and REM stages. Earlier cycles contain more deep NREM sleep, while later cycles include longer periods of REM sleep. The information presented above describes the normal process and functions of sleep. However, not everyone is able to experience this optimal state, as various sleep disorders can disrupt these mechanisms. The following are some common examples.
Our first example is sleepwalking. According to Mayo Clinic, sleepwalking occurs during non-REM sleep, specifically in stage 3, which is the deepest stage of sleep. During this phase, the body is in deep sleep, but a partial arousal can occur. This means that the motor cortex, which controls movement, becomes active, while the cortical areas responsible for consciousness remains inactive. As a result, the person can move around without being aware of their actions. Sleepwalking can be triggered by factors such as sleep deprivation, fever, stress, and disruption in sleep schedules.
The next example is insomnia. According to the National Library of Medicine, insomnia is a disorder where individuals have difficulty falling or staying asleep, even when they try. One major cause is hyperarousal, where the brain remains overly active instead of relaxing. This is often linked to dysregulation of the HPA axis, leading to higher levels of cortisol, which increases stress and makes sleep more difficult. Additionally, lower levels of GABA, a calming neurotransmitter, and reduced buildup of adenosine during the day can prevent the brain from feeling sleepy. Over time, relying on sleep medication may lead to psychological dependence, making it harder for the brain to fall asleep naturally.
Finally, our last example of sleeping disorder is narcolepsy. According to Harvard Medical School, narcolepsy is a disorder characterized by excessive daytime sleepiness and in some cases sudden muscle weaknesses called cataplexy. It is caused by the autoimmune destruction of neurons that produce hypercretin, a neurotransmitter that regulates wakefulness and sleep. Without sufficient hypercretin, the brain has difficulty maintaining clear boundaries between being awake and asleep. There are two types of narcolepsy. Type 1 of narcolepsy involves very low levels of hypercretin and includes cataplexy episodes, while type 2 involves slightly higher levels and typically does not include cataplexy episodes.
A lack of sleep can have significant societal implications, particularly by affecting how individuals interact with others. According to Professor Eddie Ben and neuroscientist Matthew P. Walker, both from the University of California, research has shown that people who do not get enough quality sleep are more likely to socially withdraw and isolate themselves. This is partially due to increased activity in brain regions associated with personal space and threat detection, making individuals more defensive and more likely to perceive others as intrusive or threatening. At the same time, there is decreased activity in the theory of mind network, which is responsible for understanding others' thoughts, emotions, and intentions.
As a result, sleep-deprived individuals may have more difficulty showing empathy and responding appropriately in social situations. This can lead them to unintentionally push others away. Over time, this behavior can reinforce social isolation, as others may become less likely to approach someone who appears distant or unresponsive. Therefore, insufficient sleep not only affects individual well-being, but can also weaken social connections and relationships within society. Thank you!